It was nearly dusk when I first heard the bell toll from the hollow. 3 long, shuddering peals, like iron groaning under some unspeakable weight. No one else in the village heard it. I asked the woman at the bakery, the constable outside the pub, even the vicar, and all gave the same answer, spoken too quickly. There's no bell in Hunger's Hollow. But I'd heard it. And worse, I'd felt it. A resonance behind my ribs. A vibration under my tongue. As though my bones had once known that sound. And feared it. I came to this place after the fire. My name is Elias Morland. 29 years old. Once a professor of antiquities at Cambridge. Now a man hollowed out by grief, fleeing the wreckage of a life that burned too easily. The cottage I rented sat at the edge of a moss-choked wood, where even sunlight came reluctantly. Behind it stretched the ravine known only as Hunger's Hollow, a cleft in the land that locals pretended did not exist, though it lay plainly on the old maps. Something about it unnerved them. They walked wider arcs than necessary around its borders. The air near the edge was always colder, even in July. And at night, no insects sang. On the 3rd night, I lit a candle and returned to the ledge. The bell tolled again. Not 3 this time. 5. Each ring was slower than the last, as if time itself strained to let it pass. And this time, I saw something stir in the mist below. The hollow was filled with a slow-rolling fog, too thick to be natural. It moved against the wind. Shapes twisted through it, too large to be birds, too silent to be animals. And beneath the haze, just visible in the ravine's dark, stood the spire of a sunken tower. Not a church. A belfry, severed from any chapel, tilted like a broken tooth. And hanging from it, a single, rusted bell the size of a carriage. Its rope reached all the way to the forest floor. And something unseen was pulling it. Back at the cottage, I consulted the deed and maps. No mention of the tower. No structure recorded in the hollow since the 1600s, when the land was supposedly swallowed by a landslide. Yet every night now, the bell rang again, never the same count. 3, 7, 2, once, 13. And always, after it rang, I dreamt. Not of fire, like before, but of rooms with no doors, filled with water. Of white-eyed monks crawling backwards down iron ladders. Of a woman with a stitched mouth who watched me from behind a veil of candle wax. The 7th night, something changed. I awoke not in my bed, but on the path to the hollow, barefoot and shaking, mud coating my legs. I had walked in my sleep, yet I remembered each step, how the forest whispered, "Come down," how the shadows parted for me like servants, and how the fog had tasted of salt and rusted metal. I stood at the precipice once more. The belfry loomed closer than it should have. And this time, there were footprints in the mud leading into the hollow. Fresh. Mine. And another set, smaller, barefoot, with blood at the heel. I descended. The fog welcomed me. Not with warmth, but with a kind of recognition. Like a mother who knows her child has come home to die. The tower's bell was still. But as I passed beneath it, the air pulsed with soundless vibration. And from below the spire, I saw steps. Stone, worn to the smoothness of teeth, spiraling downward into the earth. On the wall beside the stairwell, painted in some ancient pitch, was a phrase in Latin. Nos caphamum tollimus. We who lift the hunger. I touched the stone. It was warm. And from deep below, the bell rang once. But it didn't ring in my ears. It rang inside my chest. I descended the stairs. 20 steps. 50. 100. No light. No sound but the distant pulse of my own heart, slowly sinking with a deeper, darker rhythm. At the base, I found a chamber of bells. Hundreds. Hanging from ropes, from wires, from hooks of bone. None matched. Some were cracked, others ancient. Some still had hair tangled in their clappers. Some whispered when I passed. And in the center of the chamber stood a man with a sack over his head, tied at the neck with rosary beads. He held a candle, and he was weeping. He did not look at me, but he spoke. You heard it. The 5th toll. Yes. I whispered. Then you know what you are. I don't. You will. He held out the candle. I took it. The flame was cold. It smoked black. When it burns blue, he said, you'll see her. Who? He turned his sack-covered face to me. The one who rings the bell. Then he burst into ash. I ran. The bells began to tremble. Not ring. Tremble. Like teeth chattering in cold. And above, in the hollow's mouth, I heard a woman singing. Not in words, but in tones, harmonies made of rust and sorrow. The candle's flame turned blue. And in its light, I saw the walls of the stairwell writhe. With faces. Dozens. Hundreds. Pressed behind the stone, whispering, screaming, waiting. Some of them wore my face. Some of them wore hers. I reached the surface at dawn. The bell tower was gone. The hollow was dry. But the candle remained. And inside its flame now danced a shape. A mouthless woman, holding a key. She smiled. And the bell tolled once more. Not from the hollow. From inside my cottage. The bell rang from inside my cottage. Not loudly. Not like the hollow's iron call. This was subtle. A chime more than a toll, almost polite. And yet, I knew with grim certainty that it had never rung before. I stood at the threshold, the candle still in my hand, its blue flame fluttering despite the still air. Inside, shadows had changed shape. Corners where books once lived were now hollow. The grandfather clock had stopped at 3:03, though I had not wound it in weeks. And on the hearth, where no one had placed anything, stood a waxen figure. 6 inches tall, mouthless, eyes made of pinpricks. She held a bell in one hand, and a key in the other. The candle flickered, blue to white, and then I saw her. Not the doll. Her. Towering behind the figure, standing half in shadow, half in smoke. A woman in a veil of candle wax, her dress fused with dripping waxen layers. Her mouth was stitched shut with silver thread. Her hands held nothing. But her eyes. Her eyes had seen eternity. They fixed on me, and I could not look away. Who are you? I asked. Why me? Her mouth didn't move. But I heard her answer. Inside my teeth. You lit the flame. You followed the toll. You remembered. I don't remember anything. Not yet. But you will. You are the fifth. Fifth what? The fifth vessel. The last. The bell tolls for you. She stepped forward, and the floor did not creak, as if she wasn't walking on it, but rather moving across something deeper, like memory itself. She knelt before me, and in her palm appeared an object, a shard of bone, carved with runes I could not read. It pulsed, faintly, with warmth. Swallow it. What happens if I don't? Her veil flickered, and from within it a sound emerged, a scream like dying fire. Then, in a voice of shattered bells, then she will. The one who rings. I swallowed the bone. It cut my throat. For a moment, I tasted earth and grief. Then the cottage was gone. I stood in a long hall of doors, each marked with a symbol, a key, a bell, a flame, a tongue, an open mouth, and one with my face carved into it. The candles still burned. Behind each door I heard lives, sobs, prayers, murmurs, and behind my door, laughter. Mine. But not recent. The woman appeared beside me once more. The others forgot. You did not. What's behind my door? Who you were before the bell called you. And if I open it, then you remember what you gave to stay alive. I opened the door, and plunged through it. I was 10 years old again. The well at grandmother's farm. The afternoon sun. The dare. I leaned over to look, and I slipped. Fell for seconds. Hours. Years. At the bottom, nothing. But in the dark, a woman stood. The same woman. She offered a bell. and a choice. Die forgotten, or live and forget. I took the bell, and forgot, until now. I awoke in my bed, sweating. The wax figure was gone, but the candle still burned. And now, behind the mirror, there were footsteps. Not echoes. Steps. Measured. Heavy. Deliberate. I turned slowly toward the mirror, and saw the woman in the veil again. Only this time, she had a face. Mine. I smashed the mirror, but it didn't break. Instead, it rippled, and a hand reached through. It held the bell from the hollow. Only now it was made of flesh and teeth. It rang once, and the entire room shifted sideways. Books fell upward. The floor melted into stairs. The air grew thick with the scent of tallow and regret. And all around me, from unseen mouths, I heard the tolling begin again. 3 chimes, then 4, then 6. Not random. Counting something. I followed the sound. The stairs led down, always down, until the walls turned to bone, tiled with tiny names in black ink. Moreland, Briggs, Tarrin, Hawthorne, and one marked simply, the ringed one. At the bottom was a lake of wax, and standing in it, 4 figures, each bearing a bell, each veiled, and the 5th place stood empty, waiting. The candle in my hand grew heavy. The flame turned violet. The wax shaped itself into a bell, and the woman's voice, from behind me, said, "All who are called must ring. What happens if I refuse?" Then the ringing passes to the blood you left behind. I saw a vision. My sister, sleeping, and the candle appearing at her bedside. I took the wax bell, and stepped forward. The wax lake didn't burn. It whispered. Every step, a memory returned. My mother's voice. My father's laugh. The taste of ash from the fire that took them. And at last, the center, where the 5th bell post stood. I placed my bell upon it, and it began to toll on its own. Once, twice, 100 times, each toll pulling something out of me. When it ended, I looked down. My arms were made of wax. My voice, gone. My name, forgotten. The other 4 turned to me, and bowed. Behind us, a door opened, and from it came the one who rings. The door opened with no sound. Not silence, absence. Even the tolling of the 5th bell stilled as she stepped through. She did not walk. She hovered, inches above the wax lake, her long, emaciated form draped in tattered parchment that shifted like wings made of old scripture. Her skin was transparent, humming softly, like stretched vellum over strings. And from where her mouth should have been, a void, not sewn, not sealed, just missing. The one who rings had no face, no eyes, no nose, only that blank hollow where a mouth should be, and from it came the soft, terrifying pull, like sound being unmade, sucked back into her. I stepped backward instinctively, but my wax legs would not move. The other 4 bowed lower. She raised her hand, and pointed, to me. No words came, but I understood. Your toll has begun. You are to ring. You are to take. And suddenly, I remembered the true purpose of the bell. Not to warn, not to summon, but to feed. With every toll, something is taken from the world. A voice, a story, a name, a face. And now, it was my turn to ring for her. For the devourer. The wax bell before me pulsed faintly in time with a heartbeat I no longer felt. The candle's flame, now hovering just above the surface of the lake, flickered red. I opened my mouth to scream, but nothing came out. Sound was now her domain. My breath made no noise. My thoughts echoed in mute loops. Even the beat of my heart, gone. And yet, I heard her. Not through ears, but through bone. A chant, ancient and circular, building toward something unspeakable. 1 for the lyre, 2 for the flame, 3 for the vow that broke her name, 4 for the wax, 5 for the bell, and 6 for the one who went to hell. The sixth toll had not yet rung, but I would be the one to bring it. The other 4 veiled ringers began to sway, a rhythm without sound, a dance of stillness. They raised their bells, and toll by toll, something began to rise beneath the lake. Not a creature, a structure. Bones, ribs, towers of fused ivory and antler, rising from beneath the wax like the skeleton of a sunken cathedral. And at its apex, a mirror made of polished obsidian. In its reflection, I saw not myself, but the boy I used to be, falling again, into the well. Only this time, she didn't catch me. The mirror cracked. A hairline fracture, and the sound it should have made was sucked into her mouthless face. She turned her head toward it, stared, waited. "The sixth is near," whispered a voice behind me. I turned. It was the man in the sack, the one who had turned to ash. Only now, he was whole again, and crying. "You must not toll again," he said. 6 tolls will unmake the gate. What gate? The gate she was made to guard. The one behind the sound. The one we all forgot. I felt the bone shard in my throat begin to itch, twist, grow. The man gripped my shoulder. "You can still go back. If you find the tongue." "The what?" "Your voice. She keeps it. In the Garden of Echoes." He pointed through the skeleton archways toward a path carved in silence. "But beware. Some things echo louder than others." I took the path. Every step was weightless. Time curled back. My body blurred at the edges. The world became more symbolic than solid. Bells that grew on trees, tears that floated upward, gravestones made of teeth. And in the center, the Garden of Echoes. Flowers with mouths. Leaves made of parchment, endlessly whispering the words they had once heard. And in a cage of glass, suspended above a pool of mercury, a human tongue. Still pink, still twitching, and it was mine. The cage was sealed with wax. The wax shaped like a woman's face. Her eyes were shut, but as I approached, they opened, and she spoke, not aloud, but through everything. "Say nothing, and be safe. Speak, and awaken what lies beneath the sixth toll. You were given silence as a mercy." I touched the glass, and for the first time since descending into the hollow, I heard my own voice, screaming, begging, remembering. The cage shattered. The tongue flew to me, slid into place, and I screamed for real. The bell inside the cathedral rang once more. The sixth toll, and the wax world fractured, cracked in every direction. The candle exploded into blue fire, and from the lake she rose. Not the devourer, not the ringed one, but what they had held back. A creature of pure forgotten sound. Every lullaby, every scream swallowed by grief, every name never spoken aloud. A god made of echoes. It opened a mouth wider than the sky, and I understood. She was not the end. She was the lock, and I had become the key. I stood at the center of the collapsing cathedral, bone towers trembling as though holding their breath. The sixth toll still echoed, not through the air, but through reality itself. And the god of echoes, the thing that rose from the wax lake, it wasn't made of matter. It was a sound given form, a dirge wrapped in human shape, a memory screaming so loud it birthed a body. I was the one who had freed it. The woman in the wax veil appeared beside me again. Only now, her veil had burned away. Her face was hollow, not empty, absent, a space that refused to exist. Her hands shook, but she spoke clearly for the first time. "You rang the sixth. You remembered what was meant to die. Now you must go to the place where all bells are buried." The god took a step forward. The sound it made bent the air around us. Wax hardened into ash, bone shattered into dust. The other 4 ringers dropped to their knees, bells crumbling in their hands. And the sound. It grew inside me. A rising pressure. A chorus of every forgotten scream, every unheard apology, every silenced confession. I stumbled back into the corridor of doors. But now, they were all open. And behind each, a version of myself stood, each holding a different instrument of silence. A snuffed candle. A severed tongue. A broken bell. A stitched mouth. And the last, an open cage. They all turned toward me and said in perfect synchrony, "She must be sealed again. But only one of us may ring the final toll." I understood. The 7th toll. It was not hers to ring. It had to be mine. But to ring it, I would need to go deeper. To the place beyond the cathedral. To where bells go to die. I took the path none of the others dared to face. It was not lit. It was not dark. It was outside of light altogether. A space between perception and memory. There was no ground. But I kept walking. Until I found it. A pit. So deep no sound ever came back. And in it, a mountain made of shattered bells. Some were ancient. Some I recognized. The bell from my childhood church. The silver one from my mother's desk. The tiny brass one on the cat's collar. All of them dead. I climbed. And at the summit, embedded in wax and bone, waited the 7th bell. It was not shaped by hands. It had grown, fed by centuries of silence. Its handle was a spine. Its clapper, a stone carved with my name. And carved around its rim, in a language I now remembered. What you ring, rings back. I lifted it. The world below trembled. The god turned its faceless head. The wax woman screamed, a scream made of memories, and shattered into falling candlelight. The ringers bowed one last time. I rang the 7th bell. The sound didn't echo. It inverted the world. The cathedral folded in on itself like burning paper. The god howled, not in fury, but in relief, like a creature finally allowed to die. Its body turned to song, a symphony of all it had consumed. It passed through me. And I saw everything it had ever taken. A girl's lullaby, silenced before her death. A man's last scream from a forgotten battlefield. The word, forgive, never spoken between sisters. My father's voice, calling my name one final time. And at the end, I saw my own voice. It reached for me. And I caught it. When I awoke, I was lying in my bed in the cottage. The candle was out. The mirror unbroken. No wax figure. No bell. Only silence. But not the terrifying kind. This silence was earned. I rose and looked out the window. The hollow was quiet. No tolling. No ringing. Just the wind through trees that no longer bent toward the lake. And for the first time in years, I spoke aloud. Not to anyone. Just to hear myself. I remember. I never saw the wax woman again. Nor the god. But sometimes, just before dawn, I feel a pressure in my bones. Like something trying to echo from far below. And when I do, I light a candle, hold my breath, and listen, to make sure nothing rings again.